Hey everybody, Papa Wiggs here with Wiggs, doing another head-to-head. Uh, this time, another backfield. Tony Pollard and
Tyjae Spears.
Tyjae Spears for the Titans. This is an interesting one to me because I think Pollard last year for the Cowboys. He's been in the league 5 years, and what has he done? He the last 2 years he was over 1,000 yards in the rushing, and he was always kind of active in their passing game. Um, Last year was the first year that he was the guy in the Cowboys because Elliott was gone. Um, so he still managed to get about 67 targets on 55 catches with 311 yards. Um, and then as Wiggs has got up here, last year he had 6 touchdowns. So listen, I'm not a huge Pollard fan. I think he's a good running back. I really do, but I don't. I think he's most effective, and this is just my opinion, when he's in a split. When he's in a situation where there's another running back that's out there with him. That's just my opinion. Um, so, and I think that's going to be the case this year because Tyjae Spears is coming off a pretty decent rookie year, considering the fact that he was sitting behind King Henry on the Titans there. So I think he was really active in their passing game, 70 targets, 52 receptions, 385 yards there. He ended up with 453 yards on 100 attempts. I truly think that this is really going to be a 50, almost a 50-50. I really do. I think there's going to be a lot of sets out there where you might see even both of these guys out there. So I really think the Titans um, are going to use both of these guys equally. I think the stats from last year really aren't a fair comparison, at least not in the rushing game, because Spears was in the backfield with
Derrick Henry.
with
Yeah.
Derrick Henry. So I definitely think Spears' production in the rushing game is going to go up. I think that the Titans are going to find a way to split it between these guys. Uh, do I think either one of them is going to have 1,000 yards? I don't know. I think maybe. I think you could see one of them having 1,000 yards, maybe.
I don't even know. I feel like this
I
is gonna
don't.
be a really pass heavy team.
I think. Here's what I think. I think you're going to see maybe 800 yards, around 800 yards for both of them.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to see I think you're going to see both of them really active in the passing game. So I really think that these guys are going to be going head to head all year, and it's going to be really hard to make a decision on who you should start between these two guys because either one of them could pop off. The coaching staff could decide to go with whoever has the hot hand. Uh, I think both of them are going to be really active in the passing game. Both of them I think are definitely going to have around 50 to 60 receptions. It wouldn't surprise me if both of them have that. It wouldn't surprise me if they both, have around 400 receiving yards. Maybe a little bit more. Um, it's hard to judge the TD production on these guys because again, when the Titans were in the red zone last year, that was Derrick Henry's zone. So it's really hard to sit there and say that you can give the edge over, to Pollard over Spears. I think they're going to be kind of split on touchdowns too. So I think out of all the running back combinations this year, and I don't know what you think, Wiggs, but out of all the running back combinations, I think this one right here is probably going to be the truest 50-50 split in both the rushing, passing, and touchdowns. I think it wouldn't surprise me if they ended up with almost
Like
the same amount of yards,
yeah.
identical yards in all the categories. I really do think that that's going to be the case. And listen, I think that you got a younger quarterback in Will Levis. He's obviously going to look at at his running backs, in the passing game. He's obviously going to look at his tight end. We already talked about the three receivers that they had.
Like they are set.
So they've got I think they've got a lot of really good weapons on this team. But I still think that these guys, that shouldn't shy you away from it. Levy's is still, this is his second year, right? Yeah. So he's still going to be, I think he's still going to be firing the ball, but I think he's going to look at, they're going to use a lot of screens and stuff like that between the two of these guys to take some of the pressure, not only off of Levy's, but off of the offensive line. So I think that this one right here, anybody that has Pollard and Spears this year,
I think it's a win-win for either person.
My prayers are out to you to try to figure out who you think's going to have the better game out of the two, because you could have a game where Spears comes out and has 40 yards rushing and 100 yards catching.
Yep.
Or you could have a game where he has 20 yards rushing, 80 yards catching, and vice versa. Same with Pollard. So I think it's going to be really difficult to judge that. I think from a touchdown perspective, I think that it's going to be really hard to judge who's going to have the more touchdowns because neither one of these guys are big. You know what I'm saying? They're not big and stuff. So
yeah, they're about the same.
So they're not big guys. So I don't know what they're going to do in the red zone. I can see the tight end maybe getting some more targets down there. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out this year. But I really do think that this is the one combination of running backs on a team that truly is going to be split. That's my opinion on it. I would consider both of these guys RB2 guys, probably lower end, middle to lower end, just because you are going to get a point for every reception. They are going to be active in the passing game. And like we've talked about before, I mean, one thing I always look at, and I know Wiggs does too, is, you always want to see if your running backs are going to be an active part of that passing game. And these guys are going to be there. And here's the thing. Anytime they get the ball in the open field, either one of these guys can break it for a touch. Because they're explosive. They can break it for a TD. So again, that's kind of where I fit. Wiggs, did you want to add anything?
For me, I think this is going to be one of the funner offenses to watch this year. I think there's a lot of different things they can do with both Pollard and Spears. I could totally see them lining up with two running backs in the backfield and then sending one into motion to like line up in the slot or something. Which I think defenses might, get kind of confused on where that running back might be running his route, or maybe they're not expecting them to run the ball because they sent one of their running backs under the line, or we could even maybe see some setups where both running backs are in the backfield and next thing you know they're both on the line in two different slot spots or something like that. I think there's a lot of versatility in this offense this year, and I think, like you said, these guys are going to be pretty similar in stats. I'm actually going to give like the edge slightly to Spears because I do think he's already got a good connection with Levy's in that passing game. But I wouldn't stray away from either one of these guys. Like you said, they're going to be like an RB2 type running back. You can get them in like the middle of your draft, about the same round. I think Pollard right now is just going like a round or two ahead of Spears, but I think that's just because people are, basing it off of his performances there in Dallas. And I don't think that's fair to Spears, like you said, because he was behind Derrick Henry. So there's not much he can do there besides get the reps he gets. And I mean, he ran the ball for 100 times, averaged over 4.5 yards. So it's not bad for a rookie behind Derrick Henry, and caught the ball for, what was it, like 60 receptions, 50 receptions, 380 yards, and 70 targets. Like, he was on the field a decent chunk with someone like Derrick Henry out there. And I'm excited to see what he does this year because I really think he could have like a really good year here, and I think both these guys are good RB2 options.
He's gonna have a breakout year. I think he's one of those rookies from last year that I can honestly say, I think he's gonna have a breakout year this year, just given the situation there in Tennessee. So
I could see both these running backs catching the ball 5 or 6 times a game as well. I think this offense is going to be a lot more pass heavy this year. I don't think we're going to see them run the ball like a whole lot, especially from what they've done in the past. Like, I think it's really going to be pass oriented. I think both these guys are going to get about 5 or 6 touches a game just in the receiving game, and then like the receivers will probably get like a good 7 or 8. They'll get more targets than the running backs, but these guys are reliable even if you're under pressure too. Like if you have to get the ball off quick in one of their short routes, catch the ball, and like you said, they could go for 40 yards. There's another 4 points on top of one reception. So
Yeah, yeah. No, by this one, it's going to be an interesting backfield to watch this year. Um, and to your point, it's going to be a fun offense to watch.
yeah,
I think Levy's was just building his confidence as each game passed last year, and I think this year he's going to come out and
to tear it up.
well, I think this year he's going to come out and they went out, they brought in some more weapons. He's got a really good wide receiving group and a really great tight end. They've got 2 great running backs. They've surrounded him and set him up for success. So I'm really interested, and I agree with you. I think this is a team that's truly underrated a little bit in regards to how it will turn out. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they do have a lot of new guys that are coming in this year. So I think people are still thinking the chemistry might not be there, but I think it'll be fun to watch at the minimum.
Yeah,
So,
I think maybe like in the first few games it might be a little bit of a struggle, but I think as the year goes on, this team could very well be a playoff team and could be really hard to beat because there are so many weapons here. Like,
well, and they're in a division where obviously they're going to have to deal with Houston. Houston's going to be tough. Indianapolis is going to be tough. The Jaguars are going to be tough.
yeah, this division's
I think this division is a toss up. Any 4 of these teams could end up winning that division. I think obviously Houston is the odds-on favorite going into the season just based on what they did last year. But that doesn't mean that that's how it's going to shake out when the games start.
And I think the Titans did exactly what they needed to do. You saw what the Texans did last year and this year. They brought in a lot of talent. Like the Titans had to match the Texans on talent on the roster if they want to have a chance at winning the division. Texas went out and got Stephon Diggs. Next thing you know, boom, the Titans have both Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd. Like they brought in talent to match that team. And I think, in my honest opinion, I think it'll come down to the Texans or the Titans. I nothing against Indianapolis. I just really think like the Titans and the Texans are going to be the 2 teams here that will be bashing, and I think like the Colts will just be slightly behind, like maybe a game or 2.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. So, like you said, I'm excited to watch that. So, well, with that, check us out again, Fantasy Fools PPR on YouTube. We're also out on Snapchat, X, TikTok, Instagram. Subscribe, like, share, give us feedback. We hope you guys are finding benefit out of these videos. Wiggs has been, throwing content out there to try to help you guys out as much as we can as it relates to, PPR and stuff. So don't hesitate to reach out, and ask questions if you got questions and stuff. We just want to make this another platform that people feel like they can go to and get some honest feedback as to what we think. So with that, Wiggs, you got anything to add? All right, well, we'll call it good. And until next time, take care.